Hi, good evening. Maureen Sky, Crafty Sky Lady, coming at ya in my workroom, the back room of my house where I do all my crafting and painting and sewing and laundry and jewelry making and sewing and you name it. Did I say that? Anyway, I'm here sewing. And what am I sewing? Well, I will show you. But I started talking about it, and I did do a video with the initial start of these little snowman stuffed type little pillows, scented with, cinnamon grunge type of, this is all dry now, but anyway, it was all, boy, it evaporated, cinnamon, and if any other spice you like, clove, allspice, nutmeg, or ginger, any of those, mostly cinnamon and clove, that you like, with water. I think it was a cup of water I had in there, and about a quarter cup of rubbing alcohol. And I guess the rubbing alcohol allows the preventing mold and mildew and stuff like that. So you want that if you're going to put it on fabric and have it for a holiday display. So I'm making these for like bowl fillers with a little greenery and maybe some, cranberries or something around, something that maybe fake, because the red cranberries would give off dye and stain them, but they're going to be stained anyway. But anyway, I'm just saying, dried faux greenery, or you can get live fresh greenery. But if you do anything with red berries or paints or anything in the bowl, obviously it's going to get on your fabric. But anyway, this is what I'm doing now. Let me get the other part of what I'm going to show you, because I've made some up already on the floor right now. Anywho, these are kind of what I'm making. And then the last step, they smell really good because I took that grunge and I put it in a spray bottle way back onto the fabric as the start. After I took my pattern, which I have a little paper pattern, and I took a blue pencil, sewing pencil, and I marked all the areas. You'll see some of the blue pencil. It comes out in the wash, but anyway, it'll rub off eventually. But I marked all the areas where I had to embroider the eyes, the nose, and little like X's for the mouth, 5 little X's. The nose is just kind of like overstitch. And then you can use little beads or little buttons for the eyes, but I just did black French knots, the embroidery process of making, French knots. That's what I did here. Now, my last step will be to dry brush some of the grunge over it because I want to hide a little more of the blue where it came about. But I then took, once the little pillows were sewn, I took the fiberfill, and I also sprayed with the spray bottle the grungy, spicy stuff onto here. 30 of these, because I've made 30 little pillows, and I let them dry good. Now, there's not a lot on there right now, or at least it doesn't look it, but it smells pretty good, and they'll give off a nice little scent, I think, when they're in a bowl, and just give that little added holiday festive touch to them. I suppose you can do it without grunging them too, or either or, but I like them with that. So I've done a bunch of these already, and again, you stitch around, and then where my blue on here is the indicator that I don't want to stitch there, because once I cut and turn them for stuffing, I'll have a little opening to be able to turn them and stuff them, and then I'm going to hand whip stitch the opening closed right there like I did on that one. Am I making sense? I hope so. So it's a little pattern piece that I made up. I'll show you that. I have all of that. I showed you that in the other video as well. Not really seeing it here, because believe me, I lose things. Anyway, I went onto Etsy and I noted from another lady who makes these, and in her description, she tells about the size of them. So I took that information, and that's how I started. I said, okay, if she's making them at 3.5 inches or whatever, 3.5 by 3.5, I have to make them a little bit bigger for a 1/4 inch seam. And so that's what I did. I just made my own little pattern and took it from there. Then I drew where I wanted the eyes and the nose and mouth and all that for my embroidery. And then I marked all of that onto a piece of fabric. And this was a curtain I picked up at a thrift store for $1.99. And it was actually a Pottery Barn curtain, like a muslin, because you want kind of an off-white. Or you can use Christmas fabric too if you've got some creamy white with little snowflake imprints on it or something would be cute. I've seen people do that. So, and then you want to put your right sides together, being this is the right size, being what you're going to see in the end. This is the right side. So in sewing something, you put right sides together, and then I went around and marked all the well, before I did that, I went around and marked all the embroidery on one piece, making sense? Because, and then I took that one piece and I sat with an embroidery hoop and a little small one, and I embroidered all these. You can use, you know. Boy, I don't know what I did with all my. Like I said, I lose stuff. It's probably in the other room. Oh, it's right, a smaller ones too. Or, you know, ask a friend because somebody's got my grandma's in their stash somewhere. So anyway, I did all that, and then I sat for, you know, a few days, you know, at night watching TV. I would do the embroidery. It doesn't take all that long. It took me a little bit longer because I only used one needle and I kept having to rethread it with the different colors. But if you get yourself set up with the black and the orange, excuse me, your embroidery needles, you can probably really go much quicker than I did. But anyway, you do all the embroidery. I've got 30 squares, as many as you're making. Then when the embroidery was all done, and again, everything's marked so I know where I'm not sewing and I know where I am sewing. I took and put the right sides together, pinned it all, came to the sewing machine, and I also, before I did all that, that's when I grunged it with the spray bottle, and then after the embroidery to give it that aged look. And you can see the difference from this fabric here, what I started with, to this here. It's more vintage looking. You can tea dye probably too, or coffee dye. And this was coffee, instant coffee, water, rubbing alcohol, and your spices. Yeah. And how I found that recipe too was just Google on YouTube, and then a couple of videos came up with some crafty women showing, and I just picked one and used that recipe. So it's all there, you know. There's always ways to do stuff. Because I really hadn't really, I'd done something similar over the years, but it was more just coffee stain or tea dyed. I don't remember doing with the spices. So anyway, what I want to do with you now is I've got more rows done. I've got a bunch of them here, and I have my stuffing all dry and grunched over here, and I'll show you. So I'm gonna cut with you the 2 rows that I just did, and I'll save the other rows for later. I just want to show you on the video what I'm doing. Again, just a holiday festive project. Yeah. Take that out. So what I did too was, before I did the final stitching just now, prior to starting the video, of these 2 rows, I knew where I was going to stitch because I previously did like a top stitch, like a base stitch. I call it my indicator stitch, and it was just to allow me to know where I'm stitching. You know, so you want that too. You need to know where you're going to be stitching for the final pillow stitch. So I did a lot of the indicator stitching. So you'll see what I'm talking about is that on one layer, the face and everything's embroidered, marked with the blue pencil to know where to embroider and to where to leave an opening. Then I went along and did a base stitch. Looks like a regular stitch, but anyway, you can see stitching. These are, and it comes over, it goes right around the square. Except for where I'm leaving it open. And that tells me, once I put the 2 pieces together to make the pillow, little sachets, you know, if I just put this under the machine on this side, or even this side, I really still don't know quite where to sew without some kind of an indicator. So I like doing the indicator stitch to keep it all straight and even, and you're not sewing up crooked squares and stuff like that. So that's what I did. So now with that, I knew where to stitch this. So I'm going to come across here. We did. It was just Eddie and me, but I cooked all day, and the days prior I made pies and creamed onions, and I did it all. We had squash and turnip and mashed potatoes and stuffing, and I cooked a little turkey breast in the oven, stuffed that, and I cooked a chicken roaster in the crock pot, stuffed that, and, you know, tonight we just had a turkey sandwich because we're both still stuffed from the last 2 days of eating turkey, a big turkey dinner and leftovers. But you know, it's really nice to be able to just make a plate of leftovers, and I swear it tasted better the next day too. But anyway, it was always good. And my apple pie, I have to say, I got that down packed, and Eddie loves them. So we had apple pies and pumpkin blending. I put a little bit of clove in my apple pie too, with the other cinnamon, and oh, it's so good. A little lemon juice, a little butter for fat packs, and yeah. And I'm one of those, I like to put an old-fashioned pie bird that lets out the steam. I think it's an English tradition, but I have a little collection of them. But there's one I use, and I keep it on my shelf with my spices. And when I'm making an apple pie, that goes in the middle of the pie. It's a black pie bird, and so it sticks up out of the middle of the pie. It looks so cute. Yeah, I do that. I'll show pictures of that. So anyway, I had a little glass of wine. Eddie is not big on that, but I did, and I'm telling you, I just enjoyed it. We did. Had a nice quiet day, and I just cooked everything at my own pace. We didn't eat till a little bit later, like 4:30-ish, but that's okay. It was all good, and we loved it, and that's all that matters. Yeah. Nice, warm New England traditional Thanksgiving meal, you know? All right, guys, so here's two of the pillows, and like I said, they're all stitched, and I have the openings where I know. So I'm going to cut one or two, turn them, and we'll stuff some while I sit and talk with you. Yeah. Green Sky, Crafty Sky Lady coming at you.